Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third edition of our IPL Super Over show. Yes, that's right. You're listening to Cricket Unfiltered. I am your co-host, Menczel. I'm joined by Paul Dennett. Paul, what a week of IPL action.
G'day, Menczel. Great to be here for our third show. Plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. So for those tuning into the IPL Super Over show for the first time, this is our coverage of the IPL. It's 6 balls, 6 topics to do with the IPL. So we cover the IPL every week in one mad-capped Super Over, just like the action going on in India. Paul, you get to open the bowling this week.
Yes, and the first ball, for those of you Aussies remember a few years ago in the Big Bash final, there was that famous implosion by the Melbourne Stars. They had the game shot to bits, chasing a pretty low target. They had about 50 needed, I think, with almost all 10 wickets in hand, and somehow lost. And at the time, the late, great Shane Warne said it was the single most surprising result he'd ever seen that much through a game of cricket. Well, I reckon if Warnie'd still been around and if he'd seen this game that we're going to talk about, he might have said that this one pips it, because Lucknow Super Giants have lost the absolute unlosable game. And yeah, it's so significant that we've devoted a ball to it. So they were playing the Gujarat Titans. Gujarat made only 6 for 135. And there's a key moment. It's the third ball of the 12th over. Lucknow only had 1 wicket out. Krunal Pandya hits a 6. This then means that they need 39 from the final 45 balls with 9 wickets in hand. Pandya's partner is KL Rahul, who's going pretty well at the time. They are absolute certainties. And Menczel, I think you might be knowing where I'm coming from, but they did not hit another boundary. In the rest of the innings, 45 balls of T20 cricket in the IPL, which admittedly this pitch not conducive to high scoring. The fact that Gujarat only got 135 is an example of that. But in this IPL where 200 is often not enough, to go 45 balls without hitting a boundary, I've never seen anything like it, Menczel. Have you?
It was like KL Rahul forgot how to bat. He was going along nicely. He made, I think, 50 off about 38 deliveries. You know, a good clip when you're chasing 135. There's nothing wrong with that. And then he got to 50 and he just seemed to get stuck in the mud. I think he didn't even score to run a ball for the rest of his innings. And he just brought so much pressure onto his team. I mean, everybody talks about trying to finish chases early in the IPL, not trying to extend them into the last over. I was so befuddled watching. I was thinking they're going to get themselves in trouble here, and lo and behold, they did.
Yeah, it was interesting because they from the sort of 10th over through the 15th over, that 5-over period, the third quarter, they went at just a run a ball, and I think that's where Pandya and Rahul, between them, someone needed to take the initiative and play a few shots. But even then, it got to, with 6 overs to go, they needed just 31. So they needed 5 and over with 6 overs left to go. And at that point, Pandya got stumped. He made a run a ball 23. So a pretty disappointing innings. But they had Nicholas Pooran coming in, who not that long ago made 62 from just 19 balls. And the commentators are saying, oh, you know, can Gujarat make a comeback? And it's one of these ones, and I think I've said it before on this show, I was thinking, come on, don't just say that to keep us watching. They're not going to make a comeback. They are no chance whatsoever of winning. It's sort of like, you know, if you'd gone on to have a bet, they would have been, I don't know what price, probably 50 to 1, and you wouldn't have put money on them with stolen money. Pooran, fresh from that other innings, plays this innings where he goes ... 1 ... out. Now, he didn't face all those balls consecutively. In between, Rahul was facing balls. But
and they would have been ... Right, you're saying Rahul would have been facing balls in between, and the way he was batting, they would have been ...
I see. I had no idea what you're talking about. I thought we suddenly switched to Morse code, and I was going,
let's do the rest of the podcast in Morse code.
We should. SOS to begin with. And so I think the problem with Pooran is that he came out, and naturally, you don't want to try and slog your first couple of balls, but the pressure started to mount. And then when he did slog one, it went straight up in the air. And it got to the point when they then needed 23 off 18. And I think that the thing with the way that KL Rahul was batting throughout the rest of it, no individual ball you could be so critical of. There were some good balls in there. The ball was stopping a bit. It was like the air had gone out of it. But he just needed to open up and absolutely blast and slog and get out or get some runs. And there was a couple of balls in a row that he got two balls that he should have hit for four. He hit one of them for a single and then got a dot off the next one. And even the ball that eventually he got out of, that was a ball to be hit for six, and he just didn't have the power. So I think the criticism of him, I'm sometimes more balanced when people are criticizing, but I think it's pretty well deserved. I mean, if I was the coach, I'd be tempted to say that's, you're not in the side for the rest of the game. I don't care. I don't care. What do you reckon, Menczel? For the rest of the IPL, you're out of it.
Look, I mean, it's a big call. I know he's a very important part of that team, but that was just a complete brain snap by him. The questions that he was asked in the press conference after and his answers wouldn't fill me with great confidence if I was the coach. Sort of Rahul didn't sort of understand how they lost the game. But it's exactly as you said. There is an art in T20 cricket to keeping you cool and waiting for the right ball. But there's also a finite amount of balls, so you can be patient, but at some point you've got to take the bull by the horns and win the game. And Rahul left it to somebody else, and that's probably the biggest criticism, that after he got his 50, it's almost like he just wanted a red ink and somebody else to take the risks at the other end. And the concern for me is now, what does this do to Lucknow? Their sort of team spirit, that will be a confidence sapping loss. And, when your captain's probably the person mostly to blame, and it's very different to say when Warner was batting slowly earlier for the Capitals, they only had 2 wickets down when they got into those last few overs. So, I mean, Lucknow had plenty of wickets in hand. There was every opportunity to take the risk, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. And, I thought that the second last over from Mohammad Shami was superb as well, because there's one of these ones where pace off the ball was key, and I thought maybe it was the wrong thing to give him that over, and he came in bowling at full speed, got a bit of reverse swing, and they needed I think 17 from the last 12. He only conceded 5 from the second last over, and that's when it went from, geez, they're making this a bit hard, to suddenly they're actually no longer the favourites. And then in the final over, Rahul got 2 runs to begin, and then it's wicket, 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 wicket. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean it was a double hat-trick. There was Rahul was out, as I said, lofting one to sort of deep square leg, got caught, not even that close to the fence. Like, he really didn't get much on it. Poor old Marcus Stoinis came out, first ball, made some half-decent contact, and for a second looked like it might have been going for 4, but he got caught on the long-on boundary as well. Then there was a couple of run-outs, and bizarrely, it didn't even go down to the last ball. They needed 8 off the last ball. It was all over after the second last ball. So stunning loss, and something that, you could, as you say, it's all good about being calm and not throwing the game away. But there comes a point where you've got to say, with 9 wickets in hand, someone has to slog. And if he gets out, the next bloke can slog. And if he gets out, the next bloke can slog. Eventually, we will get these runs, rather than just letting it sort of overwhelm them like it did.
Yeah, once it got to that last over with 12 needed, I really thought Lucknow was going to lose, because I just figured they'd opened the door too wide for Gujarat, and they barreled through it. And I do want to echo your sentiments that Lucknow gave them the opportunity, but Gujarat did bowl well. And, throughout this tournament, I've seen some really average death bowling, a lot of full bungers and, wide half trackers that batters are able to take advantage of. And, I bet you Stoinis or Pooran or Rahul even would have loved a full bunger at any point in that, just to try and relieve the pressure. So, a phenomenal match, and Gujarat get the points. All right.
Yep, ball 2 minutes.
Ball 2 indeed. Well, it's Aussie Watch for ball 2, and I was looking through this week's performances by the Australians, and it's a real indication that the Australians are certainly making their mark, but by no means are they dominating like in years past, and there's not a lot of players from Australia in action regularly. So it's very different to in the past when many IPL clubs sought to really build a spine of Australian players. All right, looking at the performances, though, a great week for Glenn Maxwell. So my co-host will be thrilled to hear that.
Absolutely.
In a losing effort against CSK, he made 76 off just 36 deliveries with 8 sixes. Then in the next match, he was out for a first ball duck. They did win, and he did bowl pretty well in that game. And then in the match over the weekend against Rajasthan Royals, he put in a player of the match performance, smashing 77 of 44 deliveries. It was the innings of the match, and a great week for Glenn Maxwell. He's looking in good form. I also think it was a coming of age week for Cameron Green in the IPL,
Yep.
Paul. And I actually think, just sort of looking back, looking more broadly, that, we may look at India 2023, that, the Australian tour that preceded the IPL, and the IPL as being the making of Cameron Green, or the real turning points in his career where he's taken that leap from potential to realising it. Because this week he was player of the match for the Mumbai Indians against the Sunrisers. Green made 64 not out of 40 deliveries and took 1 for 29 with the ball. And then in a loss to the Punjab Kings, he made a blazing 67 off 43 deliveries and took 2 for 41. So good stuff there from Maxie and Green, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really heartened by both of it. Look, I probably not quite at the point yet where I can go full circle after. I think I wrote Maxie off in the first show, and we got a bit of a listener complaint, which is probably fair enough. I'm now at the point almost of saying, well, this debate about Warner and Renshaw and Cameron Bancroft and whomever else, but maybe it should be Maxie into the Australian top 6 for the Ashes. Could do a lot worse. So yeah, but it's been. We'll come to my batting rankings later on, but he's surged into contention as one of the best batters in the tournament at the moment. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So Robert, I think you can fill in your bingo card there. There's one more. All right. Now, moving on through the Australian performances, Marcus Stoinis had a good week. He took 2 for 28 against the Rajasthan Royals. That was a player of the match performance for him. It was a tight game. We're just talking about a tight game that Lucknow lost. Well, they did win a tight game against the Royals, and Stoinis bowled excellently. And then in that incredible loss to Gujarat, he took 2 for 20 as well. It's a good week for the ball with Stoinis, pretty quiet with the bat. All right, shock horror, Delhi, the Capitals got their first win of the week, and it was all thanks to Australia's hero, Davey Warner, 57 off 41 deliveries, a phenomenal knock. He held the innings together. The Capitals kind of fell over the line. So Warner continues his incredible run of half centuries in the IPL. Mitch Marsh failed with the bat and went for 12.5 runs per over in his spell in that match. So Mitch Marsh hasn't exactly set the world on fire so far this IPL. Matt Wade is not playing for the Gujarat Titans. That's a shame. Nathan Ellis has played a couple of games, just okay, 1 for 40, I think, in both those games, there or thereabouts. And I would say, Paul, we spoke about Matt Short last week. He's kind of gone backwards. He's kind of, sorry, that's the bit of police trouble or something. But yeah, Matt Short's gone backwards this week. Hasn't really nailed his spot, and a couple of low scores. Yeah,
his overall record now is 90 runs at an average of 18 and a strike rate of 136. So, decent, but not quite as good. Yeah, Mitch Marsh hasn't been as good, but he's in the Ashes squad. So, yeah, you never know.
And just finally with the coaching, the Aussie coaches, can't forget them on our Aussie Watch segment. Well, Ricky Ponting got a win with the Delhi Capitals, and Trevor Bayliss's team, the Punjab Super Kings, are on 8 points and are right in the thick of it for finals contention. So that's the Aussie Watch. Cameron Green, probably the story for the week with those 2 all-round performances. And geez, it's great to see. He's such an imposing figure in that big blue Mumbai uniform. It's him and Tim David next to each other. Pretty imposing pair.
Have you seen the TikTok with him in it that Mumbai released? I don't know how Mumbai Indians are releasing TikToks, given TikTok is banned in India, but they are. It's just this one. It's not all that sophisticated, but it's Cameron Green standing there with an angle so showing how tall he is, and he's having a a bottle of water, and a fan says, "Oh, can I have it?" And he says, "Sure." "Can I have a sip?" And he says, "Sure." And he passes it down to the fan, and when the fan catches, he's like holding a 18-gallon drum of water, throws it back up, and he catches it.
I like that. And if you want to hear more about Cameron Green, I did a great interview with him on Cricket Unfiltered. Search it in our podcast feed. Lovely young man. Now, Paul, ball 3. What have you got? What variation have you got for us? Actually, it's me.
I was going to say, I thought it was you.
Me. We're going 2 balls in a row. This one. All right. So it's ball 3. And this is a bit of a deep dive into the bowlers so far in the tournament. I just want to sort of see where we are. So for those that are not aware, if you're the leading wicket taker in the IPL, you get a purple cap. So at the moment, the purple cap holder is Mohammad Siraj. He has 13 wickets. He's level with Arshdeep Singh, who has 13 wickets. So those 2 are the leading wicket takers, 2 quick bowlers. And then you've got Rashid Khan and Yuzendra Chahal with 12 wickets each. So, nice mix there. 2 quicks, 2 spinners. And then Mark Wood with 11 wickets, Deshpande with 12 wickets, as well. They've been doing very well. Probably for the Australians, though, you have to go all the way down to 7 wickets. Berendorf and Ellis both have 7 wickets. But Siraj, and this is not normally the case, but I would say has been the bowler of the tournament so far. 13 wickets at an average of 15 at an economy of just 7.14. So outstanding figures for the RCB opening bowler. But Paul, this is the question I want to ask you. Should the purple cap be for the most economical bowler in the IPL? Because isn't it economy rates that win matches?
Yeah, it should be. But I think as much as I'm, me, I hate aggregates. I hate the whole, our sort of enthralled to the most when that's not necessarily the most significant. But I think something about the most wickets and the most runs, there is something about that is worthwhile. But I think that they should be a separate cap. I think we've talked about it before. Let's have some more caps. Have a cap for the most economical bowler. Have a fairly high requirement, so you can't have someone who's bowling only 10 overs for the tournament slipping in, and the same with the batting. Have a cap for the highest strike rate, but again, it can't be someone who's only faced 150 balls. It's got to be someone who's actually had batted in most games throughout the whole tournament. Absolutely. And just looking at the bowling generally so far, and we'll get to the economy rates in a minute, but I think this has been a good IPL for bowlers so far. There's been a lot more defending of totals. I think the rules have helped. But there's been some good quick bowling, some good spin bowling. I think it helps being played at home grounds now where you get a variation in conditions. So, yeah, great stuff from Mohammad Siraj. And then I just thought I'd pick out some of the most economical bowlers. So for this, I've taken the cutoff as a minimum of 10 overs so far in the tournament. Obviously, as the tournament goes on, you'd be expecting someone to bowl a lot more than 10 overs, but just where we are, about sort of just under halfway in, I thought. So if you look at David Willey, he's bowled 12 overs and just conceding 6.16. That's to go with 3 wickets. Markanda from the Hyderabad, 16 overs, conceding just 6.25. Very, very good. And then I sort of think someone like, Chawla, 23 overs, 9 wickets, 6.86. P.S. Chawla from the Mumbai Indians. That's a terrific performance. And then Marcus Stoinis, he's only bowled 7 overs, conceding 6.85. But, yeah, you can see there's some real standouts really keeping it tight for their teams. Best figures in the comp so far, Mark Wood's 5 for 14 that he took for Lucknow against the Capitals on the 1st of April, so that's a bit of a while back. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, the 2 most expensive spells so far in this IPL. So Yash Dayal, 4 overs, none for 69 for the Titans versus KKR. So he's first spot, and then Vishak is in second spot with 4 overs, 1 for 62 for RCB versus the Super Kings. So Dayal, his run rate conceded was 17.25 and Vishak's 15.5.
Not good
It
reading.
can be a cruel game, can't it? The T20
can.
version of the game. All right, moving along to our fourth ball, and we had the bowlers. Now looking quickly at the batters, and top strike rates. Again, I've limited it to 150 runs. Who would have predicted Ajinkya Rahane from CSK has a strike rate of 199? He scored 209 runs at an average of 52 and has been the revelation, if you can call someone who's a veteran, the revelation of the tournament. I don't think anyone would have been predicting him to be the leading strike rate at this point. But he's batting the house down. And Maxwell, who's come from nowhere, has the second highest strike rate. He always does. The thing with Maxi, no matter how badly he's batting, he always has a high strike rate. He's got a strike rate of 189. Nicholas Pooran, 186. Shimron Hetmeyer, 166. Faf du Plessis scored a mountain of runs at a strike rate of 165. And then special mention to Dhoni, who doesn't qualify in terms of number of runs, but has a strike rate of 197. He scored 61 runs at an average of 61. He's only been dismissed once. He got bumped up the order in their most recent game to number 6. But we've been calling for it on this podcast. MS, you're not that old. You can come out and bat a bit higher. The way that he's batting, bring him in as a pinch hitter. And tell you what, the crowd would love that if they did that. Now, the bad end of the table. Lowered the minimum here because it tends to be you don't get that many runs if you're not scoring quickly. So minimum of 100 runs. The lowest strike rates, Mayank Agarwal of a strike rate of 106. Our friend, poor old KL Rahul with a strike rate of 114. Hardik Pandya in third place. Krunal Pandya in third place at a strike rate of 116. Gurbaz 117. Tripathi 120. Padikkal 120. Davey Warner 121. Although
that's not that bad.
It's not that bad. And I think that last innings, that's a different innings to what he's been playing so far. A, it was a match-winning innings, and B, it was a lot faster than other innings that he's played in this tournament. Still, the quite astonishing statistic that he has hit 42 fours and not a solitary 6 for the tournament so far, which is quite striking. And then I said Hardik Pandya by mistake before because I know he's on the table. He's the next one. Hardik Pandya with a strike rate of only 121. It's not terrible, but for a bloke who can hit the ball so far, a little bit disappointing so far. Most sixes, Faf du Plessis with 25, Maxwell with 23, Gaikwad with 17, along with Singh, Rinku Singh, who's got 17 as well. And again, special mention of Dhoni, who has hit 6 sixes, and he's hitting a 6 every 5.2 balls.
It's incredible.
And I thought, okay, looking at the other top 15, how are they in terms of balls per 6? Maxi's by far the best. He's hitting a 6 every 5.8 balls. So, Faf's right up the top and he's doing really well, but it's every 9.8 balls for him. So, again, Maxi showing what an extraordinarily powerful player he is, and Dhoni should be batting up the order. Best innings of the tournament. Well, we mentioned it before. 62 from 19. I'm excluding innings that only lasted a couple of balls, but 62 from 19 from Nicholas Pooran at a strike rate of 326. And to put it all together, my top 5 batters at the moment this far in the IPL, and I've excluded all sentiment. I'm going on numbers only here.
Like it.
So please forgive me if you don't agree. But number 5, Rinku Singh, who's scored 233 runs at an average of 58, a strike rate of 157. Number 4, Shimron Hetmeyer, 188 runs at an average of 63 and a strike rate of 166. Maxi is third, 253 runs at an average of 42 and a strike rate of 189. Faf is second, with a strike rate of 165, 405 runs at an average of 68. But the number 1 batter for me at the moment is the aforementioned Ajinkya Rahane, 209 runs, an average of 52 and a strike rate of 0.96 shy of 200. So there you go.
I love that top 5. I mean, Rahane is a great story. Australian fans will remember him leading the team when Virat Kohli went home to have his first child a few years ago on that famous tour where they won. But great to see him doing well at his age. And Faf du Plessis, I can't believe it, 38, batting as well as I've ever seen him bat. And it sort of reminds me a bit of what Shane Watson said, that, once you retire from international cricket and can just hone in on your T20 skills, it can really enhance your game. And we're seeing that with Faf. He's as fit as ever. It's hitting the ball as far as ever, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, and we mentioned it, I think, before, but that innings he played, was it 2012 in Adelaide, where he batted the entire day? And it would be great to sort of do some comparisons between some of the, albeit with good justification, some of the extraordinarily slow innings he played in Test cricket with some of the explosive innings he's played in T20 cricket, and marvel at the fact that it's the same sport. I think I've got the next ball as well, I do believe, Menas.
You do. Yep.
All right, so power rankings, you mentioned it before, but CSK are surging. They've come to the top of the table. They've won 3 straight and 4 out of their last 5. They are on 10 points, having played 7 matches. Gujarat Titans are on 6 points, having played 8 matches, so they could equal them if they win their next game, although CSK's net run rate is a little bit better. So they have won 3 consecutively. Rajasthan Royals have had 2 losses in a row, although they still have the best net run rate, but they're coming back to the field a little bit. RCB are starting to look pretty good as well. There's a huge logjam in second place. I mentioned Gujarat had that game in hand, but there are a total of 5 teams on second place with 8 points, and RCB are one of those. And with Maxwell firing, Faf firing, they've obviously got Virat Kohli. We mentioned David Willey's bowling well. They're looking quite decent as well. Poor old Calcutta Knight Riders have fallen away. They've had 4 consecutive losses, including that win that we talked about with Delhi beating them. Poor old Ponting didn't get an easy night of it, though, that after restricting them to 127 with the return of Ishant Sharma to the IPL, it took 2 for 19 for Delhi. They got the runs, but they made hard work of it. 6 for 128 with 2 balls to spare. We mentioned Warner getting the runs, and Akshar Patel wasn't a quick innings, but 19 not out off 22 got them home as well. So they're actually playing Sunrisers Hyderabad, I think, in the next game, which is kind of a battle for the bottom of the table at the moment. So Aussie fans, I think, will be hoping that Delhi can get a second win there. But CSK, I was listening to the cricket podcast, and they were having a bit of a go at them with regards to their win when they chased down 134 from Sunrisers Hyderabad and got there with only 8 balls to spare. So any danger of actually putting the foot down and scoring quite quickly. But the game before that, they'd made 220 odd. And then in their most recent game, they belted 4 for 235 against KKR. So they've got a pretty impressive lineup with Rahane, Gaikwad, Conway, Dubey, Jadeja, Dhoni, and Moeen Ali. There's a batting lineup. And special mention again to Dhoni. He came out at number 6 with only 2 balls to go, and the crowd was like a waist-high full toss potentially that would have meant that he wasn't to come in, and the crowd were desperate that it wasn't going to be called a waist-high full toss, and then they went absolutely berserk when he came in, which you would expect if it was actually in Chennai. But this was at the away game. This was at Eden Gardens. So that's how Dhoni on his farewell tour. Just the love for him is just growing.
So who's your power ranking team of the week?
Oh, it has to be CSK, but with a special mention to RCB as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Really good stuff, and we'll get to my ball 6 in a minute, but it's a very tight ladder. And although Delhi have had, a shocking start to the competition, they are still only 3 wins out of second spot. So, and they've got a game in hand with a lot of those teams. So they still have to win those games, and Judge doesn't look like they will, but it's a very, very exciting ladder. All right, now ball 6. Well, for ball 6, last ball of the over, last ball of the super over, Paul and I were able to just scoot by the prediction side of the IPL. We just started sort of 10 days in, but I've decided that it will be unfair for a lot of other cricket podcasts to put their necks out and predict who they think the top 4 will be. It would be unfair if Paul and I didn't do it. So on this 6 ball, Paul and I are bravely going to pick our top 4 halfway through the competition. Now, I just want to go through the top 4 from the last few years to give listeners a bit of context. So in 2020, the top 4 were the Mumbai Indians, who were on first spot. I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4 for all of these. Mumbai Indians, Delhi Capitals, Sunrisers Hyderabad, and RCB. And Mumbai Indians were the champions that year. Then in 2021, the Delhi Capitals were on top. Then Chennai was second. Royal Challengers Bangalore third, and Kolkata fourth. And then last season, the finalists were Gujarat, Rajasthan Royals, Lucknow Super Giants, and RCB. So RCB is the only team to have made the last three finals. So that's a very good run for them. Will it continue, I guess, is the question. And since our last show, they've announced where the finals will be played in the IPL. So qualifier 1, which is team 1 versus team 2, will be played in Chennai. The eliminator, team 3 versus team 4, will be played in Chennai as well. And then qualifier 2 and the final will both be played in Ahmedabad in that huge stadium. All right, so that's the context. Now I'm going to give you what I think will be the top 4 from here. I think Mumbai are going to surge into the top 4.
Whoa.
And what I like about them is they've got a great top 5. You've got Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan, Cameron Green, Sky, and Tim David. I think that's a powerful top 5. And then they've got strong new ball bowling, especially if Jofra Archer is fit. And they've just got a great pedigree. They know how to win the Indian. So I think you can lock in Mumbai for a final spot. Then I've gone RCB to make it 4 in a row. Faf du Plessis, Glenn Maxwell, Virat Kohli, and Mohammad Siraj are going to lead this team into the finals and chuck in Hasaranga with some phenomenal overs of spin in the middle. I think they're both going to make the top 4. What do you think of those two so far, Paul?
Well, just to confirm, are they to make the top 4 in any order, or are you predicting them to come first and second?
Top 4 in any order.
Okay. Yeah, well, look, so far, I don't think I can disagree.
All right. So then CSK, I am betting on them to continue this run. We mentioned the Dhoni factor before. I really like Gaikwad and Conway at the top. Conway is a phenomenal cricketer. Then you've got Rahane, we spoke about in the form of his life. I really like Thikshana and Jadeja, the option they provide Dhoni through the middle overs with their spin. So I think CSK will ride the Dhoni wave into the finals. And they might even lock up first spot. And then the final finalist for my top 4 is the defending champs, the Gujarat Titans. What I like about them is they just have this ability to win from anywhere. Hardik Pandya is obviously an inspirational skipper. Then you've got Shubman Gill, Rashid Khan, David Miller, and Mohammad Shami that provides a real match-winning core of that team. And look, that was the one I ummed and ahed a bit about, Paul, that fourth one. There's a lot of really good teams in this competition. I think the Rajasthan Royals will make a really strong case to be in the top 5. I think Punjab Kings are a very good team. But in the end, I think Gujarat just have that little bit of magic that you need.
Yeah, I think I've gone pretty close to the same as you. I've gone CSK. I think that they are surging with, as we said. I tend to agree with you from the Mumbai Indians as well. Partially, I'm being a little bit sentimental. I'm kind of enjoying cheering them on because of their Aussie contingent. Ditto with RCB. I love Maxi so much that. But I think honestly that they are in my tips for the top 4 as well. I was tempted to put Gujarat in there, but despite their 2 recent losses, my 4th one, still going to stick with the Rajasthan Royals. Okay.
Well, that's interesting because I was umming and ahhing on that last spot. All right. Well, that's it for the Super Over. Bold. Over, change ends. That's it. We'll be back next week with Super Over number 4. So for those listening on to the podcast and watching on YouTube, we've got some really exciting show announcements to come soon. So I think tune in next episode. There's going to be quite a major announcement. Very exciting news for Cricket Unfiltered. So we're really looking forward to announcing that to you all. You please follow us on social media. So we're on Twitter @OzCricketPod. We're also on Instagram @OzCricketPod. You can find us on TikTok as Cricket Unfiltered. If you're listening on the podcast, follow our YouTube page for video content, and all the links are in the show notes. So thanks very much for listening. I've been Andrew Menczel. Paul?
I'm Paul Dennett. One last thing. You might notice that I'm wearing my rashi. I'm at the beach. I'm on holiday at the moment. And I'd like to thank the people I've been here with, because I've been watching the IPL, researching the IPL, talking IPL to a group of people who have no interest in it, and and they've now all vacated the place so I can do it here. So thanks to them. It's been great chatting again with you, Menners, and I'm off back to the beach.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, listeners.